when I was studying in the 90s, flow was sort of held up as, or in the zone was the term I was really familiar
Yes.
with. That
Mm,
people talked about being in the zone with respect to their gold medal winning performance, and
yeah.
that encouraged people to be thinking about mindset prior to performance, and the tactical mental skills that you would do prior, that would allow you to get the best out of yourself. And that was sort of seen
Mm,
as the antithesis of this sort of really rugged, I'm going to really try and drive at my performance. That almost felt like it was tense. But I
mm,
hear and I
mm,
read a little bit more about a clutch-based state when actually you might not be feeling great. You might not be in a flow state, but
mm.
you're going to get a
Mm-hmm,
performance out. How does it
yeah,
differ?
sure. Kind of like what you've said there,
Oh,
Steve. Clutch generally involves, and I'm no expert in the area, but the idea of a clutch, is that you clutch something out of a really difficult situation. So you really like, you're in a very challenging situation. I guess that's a similar experience to flow, but you don't experience this effortless concentration. What you're doing feels more effortful. It's hard work. You're gritting it out, like we use that term sometimes, um, and yeah, I think that from what I've read, clutch isn't an enjoyable experience to be in. Like it
mm,
might lead to a good outcome that you're satisfied with in terms of performance, but I think what makes flow so special is the quality of experience is so positive. It's so optimal
mm,
compared to a clutch state, for example.
yeah. Okay. So, whilst flow might allow time to just whiz by, clutch slows it down. Perhaps uh,
Yeah, you're kind of
this was
waiting
difficult.
and yeah. And sometimes that's going to be like it is.
Yeah.
It's not, as I said, flow isn't an easy state to achieve. There's no flow switch, and even the really best athletes, you can't guarantee flow, or some people might argue that you can, but I don't think Csikszentmihalyi would endorse that. He has written extensively about flow, and that it's not an easy state to achieve. However, that it is accessible.
And so then you have a nice section on factors that influence flow. Could you take us through some of
Mhm.
those?
Sure. Okay, so there's there's a number of factors. It's have like coming back to that challenge situation that I mentioned, like you're in a challenging situation and you trust your skills that you can meet the challenge. And so there's what's called a challenge skill balance. And so when you get that right, and that's all very individual, it's just an individual state. And so it's when your challenge is higher than your usual level of challenge, which then stretches your skills to be higher than what you might uh, do in an average or usual performance, to create something special. So you've got this challenge skill balance happening. For an athlete, things like optimal preparation, that includes physical preparation and mental preparation. Um, I recall athletes talking about the performance feeling good on the day as being important. You get that before the event, like you get that sense that, yeah, this is in sync today. This is feeling good. And so then that leads to more trust when you come to the very high challenge of actually competing in a challenging environment. Um, there are some factors that we have less control over, and this is again what, especially in sport, which is dynamic, and there are always factors we don't have control over, like the opposition or even like your
Right.
teammates. um, and so when the team, if it's a team sport, and definitely flow is reported to be experienced in teams, um, the team has to be playing well but also interacting well, the communications, positive communications. And then there's some things like what's happening in the environment, the optimal environment for your event, particularly if it's outdoors, for example. But then it might be indoor or outdoor, but then there's the situational environment. So it's the interpersonal aspect that might be happening that's either helping you to be really focused on what you're doing, or is perhaps leading you to doubt your abilities, which can happen with sometimes coaches inadvertently trying to motivate players, perhaps are leading them to have some doubts, or it could be parents, it could be teammates, it could be the opposition, a number of different interpersonal influences that can affect. So that, these just are some of the areas that influence whether or not flow occurs. So you can see there's a lot that we don't have control over, but what we do have control over is our focus. As in, we always have the choice about what we're going to focus on. And so being able to focus fully on the task is very conducive to experiencing flow, obviously.
When I look through the list of items, I mean, you just described, there seem to be, as you say, some things that you're just not necessarily going to be able to control. Some things that you can simply do that will enhance, such as being prepared, having pre-competition plans, and event-focused plans, optimal physical preparation, readiness. Those feel like...
You've got the list in front of you. I don't.
Have I? I've done that as well. I've written a book and I can't remember what I wrote in it. You must have been in the flow. That sense of, hey, look, I need to pack my bags. I need to make sure I practice my warm-up routine, and I'm ready to go. That sense of routine triggering a state. There also feels as though there are some attitudinal approaches, being highly motivated, mental state.
Absolutely, yeah.
Feeling positive, which my assumption is not just a passive thing, am I feeling positive today or not? As you say, there's a choice about how I approach this performance, and what am I choosing to do? Today's going to be a good day because I'm going to choose to have a good day, that type of approach. But there also seems to be some opportunities to reframe. So for situational conditions, I don't know, for example, if it's raining really hard, as it does in Britain, rather than thinking, oh no, that's going to affect my performance, that you can have an opportunity to embrace that characteristic, so that it feels like it's an active process as well, to be able to encourage the probability.
Oh, totally active process. Yes, Steve. It's not you sit back and hope that all the conditions line up for you. But I think that the one area we have the most control over is what we choose to focus on or to refocus on. So like refocusing was also seen as the ability to, if you did lose focus, to get that focus back without it taking too long, because you don't have that luxury of time in most sporting events. And so being able to notice where your attention is, have it on the task, or if it wanders, bring it back without any judgment. And this is where there's an overlap with mindfulness. And I write extensively about mindfulness in the book. I've just described some of the qualities of mindfulness as well.